clear dreaming, I don't know, it's transparent or clear cells, so I think of that as lucidum, if that helps. And then the uppermost layer is the stratum corneum. This is the toughest, most outer layer. It's constantly being shed and replaced with your skin cells. It protects against having too much or too little moisture, so it helps to balance out. And remember, we've talked about the acid mantle before. It's protected by the acid mantle as well. I think we talked about it with our hair theory chapter, but it's the same thing for skin too. So not just your scalp, and hair, but also your skin has the acid mantle. Acid mantle meaning mixing your sebum and your sweat gland. Those mix together to create a pH balancing barrier. Jeez Louise, words. So this is a fun little fact. So journey from the stratum basal to the stratum corneum, so down low to up high. It takes 12 to 19 days during puberty. So you're constantly forming new cells and replenishing the old ones, as well as shedding those off. It takes 28 to 35 days in your midlife and up to 90 days at maturity. So everything starts to kind of slow down as you get a little bit older, as you probably know, but you can see it happens the turnover rate is so quick during puberty, and as you get older, it slows down quite a bit. All right, so then we talked about the epidermis layer, which was located here, and then we moved to the dermal layer. This is composed mostly of keratinized cells, so protein, essentially. The dermal layer is 25 times thicker than the epidermis, and it nourishes the lower epidermis to help produce the new cells to be made. It contains collagen, protein, elastin fibers, a lot of support to the epidermis to give it that elastic quality, so it's not super stiff. We can move it around. That's because of the dermal layer. There are two main layers, which is nice. We don't have a lot within this large area, but we have two main layers, the papillary and the reticular. So the papillary, this is directly beneath the epidermis. It's rich in blood vessels and capillaries. It helps to project nourishment to the skin, and it's going to be responsible for sensitivity to light touch. And the reticular layer is the lower layer of the dermal, so moving down low. You have direct contact with the subcutaneous layer. This also contains collagen, elastin fibers, your sudoriferous and sebaceous glands. So sudoriferous are your sweat, sebaceous are your oil. Sensory nerve endings or receptors, again for touch. And then blood vessels, your retrocilium muscles, if you remember, this is going to be what's responsible for goosebumps. And mostly all of your hair follicle is located within the reticular layer. All right, so sudoriferous or sweat glands, the tube-like duct opening that's at the surface of the skin to help with pores of sweat. So your sudoriferous is here, and it comes out to the skin surface. This helps to control and regulate body temperature, excrete waste products, and maintaining acidic pH factors of the skin. Typically, it's found in greatest concentration on the palms of your hands, soles of feet, scalp, forehead, underarms, anterior trunk, which is like lower back, and then genital regions. And then your sebaceous glands or your oil glands are located here. They're like a little bit more of like a lumpy gland attached to the hair follicle. They produce sebum or oil. They're 2 to 3 times larger around your facial hair follicles than on your scalp follicles, which is super interesting to me. They cause oily skin when there's an overabundance of sebum that's produced. This is not found on the palms of your hands or the soles of your feet. Sebum is a secretion containing a high percentage of fatty, oily substances. If your layer of oil and your sweat mix on the surface of the skin, that produces the acid mantle. This keeps skin smooth, it prevents dirt and grime for the outer layer of the epidermis, it prevents the skin from drying or chapping. It's naturally acidic, so the pH of it ranges from 4.5 to 5.5, which is for most people like the balance for our hair and our skin. And it protects against bacterial invasion as well. Subcutaneous, fatty layer below the dermal layer. So again, epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous. This is going to be fatty, protective cushion for the skin. It's a shock absorber for bones, so think fatty pockets, and they are going to be there to help lessen the blow on the bones. It supports blood vessels and nerve endings. It gives contour and shape to your body. This also provides reservoir for food and water. And it has connective tissue within this layer as well. It contains blood vessels, sense organs, and nerves. Nerves are going to respond to your pain. Sense organs are going to be for touch, pressure, and temperature. And blood vessels are going to be there to transport nourishment to the skin and those nerves. So we've talked about melanin before. Let's review. Melanin-producing cells are called melanocytes. This is located in the basal layer of the epidermis. This is where the pigment is located. Melanin is distributed through the epidermal cells and forms an effective barrier that protects you from UV rays. So it protects you from sun exposure. The two types are eumelanin and pheomelanin. Eumelanin is brown and black, and pheomelanin is going to be primarily red and your yellows. So some fast facts. For skin pigmentation, a mountain type of melanin along with genes determines the type of melanin that's produced within your body naturally. Skin tanning is actually a result of accelerated melanin production to protect the skin from UV rays. So your skin is exposed, it tans to protect you from any further exposure. Sunscreen helps keep the skin from absorbing ultraviolet rays or UV rays. SPF rating system helps determine how long you can stay in the sun without burning. American Academy of Dermatology always recommends applying a sunscreen of SPF of at least 30, not only on your skin, but also on your lips, using a lip balm with an SPF in it. Reapplying every 2 hours, wearing protective, tightly woven clothing, avoiding surfaces such as water that can reflect up to 85% of the sun's damaging rays, and be aware of UVA and UVB rays that can penetrate windows, windshields, clothing, and clouds. Alright, so types of skin. These are the 4 types: dry, oily, normal, and combination. So while we're going to just try to think of what you are skin type-wise. So with your dry, this is would be primarily people that experience lack of moisture. So if you are this skin type, you are going to be typically grabbing products that are more of a cream cleanser or a hydrating lotion that has a lot of moisture benefits in their moisturizers. If you're oily, you're typically using products that are going to be a gel-based, something that almost strips that natural oil from your skin just to help lessen the breakouts. Normal skin, it can always change. We're never saying that everybody's skin is always dry or always oily or always normal. As you know, especially living here in Michigan, we have very humid weather times. So in the summer, it's very, very humid. So typically, even if you're dry in the winter, you may experience some oiliness in the summer, and then vice versa, dry in the winter. Normal can just be kind of in the middle. You don't consider yourself either dry or oily, but you could possibly have problem areas occasionally. And then your combination, this is going to be like combination skin, like dry, maybe like sometimes I have combinations, so I'll like have dry on my cheek areas, but I'll be oily in my chin or T-zone area, and have a little bit more clogged pores on an average daily basis. But it's our responsibility as salon professionals to be recommending the correct products for our guests. Even when we're doing hair, a lot of times we have guests that want us to make recommendations for them because they trust our opinion and our profession. So we want to have a basic knowledge of what products go with what skin types. Another thing that dry skin typically shows is like flaking. We're not really prone to acne if you have dry skin, but applying enough moisture, it really helps to add in that unbalanced amount. If you see somebody with oily skin, they typically are a little bit more shiny. They could be experiencing enlarged pores, blackheads, breakouts. Normal skin, this is going to be like smooth in texture, not appearing oily, not appearing dry. It's typically rare because we are, again, kind of leaning towards one or the other. And again, if you do experience normal times of the year with your skin, it's most likely that since the weather is so back and forth, so cold to so hot, from winter to summer, it is going to change either to oily or dry, depending. And then combination skin, again, shiny T-zone, is typically pretty common because you do have more sebaceous glands in your T-zone area on your face, so you do produce a little bit more sebum there. Dryness in the cheeks, like I said, jawline, hairline areas, you could experience some flaky or dryness. And that is it. So, I will see you all tonight in class. If you do not get to this today, that's okay. This test is not until next week, so we do have some time. Let me know if you have questions, shoot me an email, or we can talk about it tonight. All right, see y'all later.